Wipeout was a popular TV show that ran from 2008 to 2014 that featured people navigating ridiculous obstacle courses and taking falls into water. It was in many ways a precursor to what became American Ninja Warrior today. Now, what do you do when you have a popular TV show / movie? That's right, make a budget tie-in game. Or 4. Today, I'm going to relive the past by playing every Wii version of the Wipeout games to 100% completion. So join me on this ridiculous and traumatizing journey. Well, let's start with where the series began with Wipeout the game. For the rest of this video, I will be calling it Wipeout 1, by the way, just to be simpler. As far as things we need to 100% the game, there's actually quite a bit to do. We have 23 characters to unlock, as well as 2 unlockable skins for 18 of those characters. There's 5 of them that don't get skins. I didn't make that decision, don't blame me. Making in total 59 unlockable quote-unquote characters that we unlock by winning in Play the Show mode. More on that in a moment. There are also 2 unlockable difficulties in Play the Show mode. We also have Challenge mode, where you play a preset obstacle course by yourself and try to achieve a good enough time and as little wipeouts as possible to get trophies. Challenge mode is split into 2 different lists: Qualifier, which has 9 courses, and Wipeout Zone, which has 3 courses. Each course has 4 trophies to get, so in total we need to get 48 trophies. Well, with our goal set, there's nothing to do but to do it. I started off by playing Play the Show mode, which follows the basic structure of an episode of Wipeout with some minor changes to help with gameplay. Notably, there are only ever 4 contestants to go through the 4 rounds of the show, the first of which is the qualifying obstacle course, with classic obstacles like the big red balls, a wall of boxing gloves, etc, etc. But here is where we run into the first annoying thing about Wipeout 1, getting a little tongue-tied there. The CPUs. It's bad enough that the game forces you to either watch the CPUs do their runs or have to click through to skip them. The CPUs can also directly screw you over on the course by throwing various different balls, sometimes directly knocking you into the water with a nice headshot. Oh, that didn't count, come on. Or by throwing at these targets that are set up on the obstacle course, which trigger certain obstacles. Sometimes the CPUs will toss a ball after you jumped, they'll hit the target, a platform will lower, and you'll just go into the water. You can't react to it, there's nothing you can do. Okay, that one, 2 of those weren't on me. So I'm very glad that this mechanic is quarantined to the first game and did not infect the rest of the series. It is a cool idea in theory in multiplayer. It gives people who are not currently running the course something to do, but for the sake of our challenge today, it was very annoying. The other rounds are the sweeper round, the free-for-all round, and of course, the Wipeout Zone. After beating the easy difficulty, we unlock challenging difficulty, as well as 2 new characters and a skin. This means that to unlock all the characters / skins, we will need to play Beat the Show 19 times. And this last run took me 16.5 minutes. Now, to be fair, I wasn't good at the game yet, and I was not skipping all the cutscenes or CPU segments yet. But this is the point where I knew I had signed up for trouble. Because the game is not good. Quite frankly, I had my fill of the game after 1 run. I guess I'm gonna have to shovel all of this extra food down and deal with an upset stomach later. Now, how Wipeout 1 handles difficulty is interesting. Challenging difficulty basically says, what if we took obstacle X and added obstacle Y to it? That would allow us to reuse assets and pad out the runtime by making the courses longer. Extreme difficulty does the same thing and just adds another obstacle to the challenging version of courses. So I'm just going to gloss over these two runs and just move on. But after I finished extreme difficulty, I decided to check out challenge mode and realized all the work that needs to be done here. So I changed pace for a bit and I decided to start collecting trophies. Playing challenge mode made me realize just how terrible the CPU mechanics are in this game. And honestly, I was actually having some fun here in playing challenge mode. This will change later when I come back and try and get all the trophies, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Once I got sufficiently frustrated with challenge mode, I moved back to play the show to finish up the unlocks there. Now, after playing through extreme and challenging difficulty, I realized that there was no extra reward for playing through the higher difficulties. So, being the logical and time-minded individual I am, I grinded out the rest of the unlocks by playing the easy course over and 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 over again. With everything done in play the show mode, it was time to move on to completing challenge mode. Now, each course has 4 trophies to earn, but you can earn them all in one run if you have 0 wipeouts and complete the course in under a time limit. So it's not as bad as it sounds. What is worse than you might expect is the menus, because there is no way to just restart the course. If you fall once and need to try again to get the ballsy trophy, or the smallsy trophy, I forget what they call it in this game, you have to quit to the main menu, then navigate all the way back through the menus, including selecting your character and picking the level again in order to try again. In order to retain any sanity that I had remaining, and please trust me, I was so done with this game. I used save states just to cut out going through the menus over and over again. I was so done with it. I completed the courses all in one run. I did not use save states in the middle of the obstacle courses. I just did it to cut out the menu nonsense.
Oh, we unlocked the characters. Okay, so we unlock them by completing everything. Cool. I believe, let's do a run through real quick of everything, but I believe, actually I can do this here. I believe that is the first game done. Yep. Okay. Got everything in here. And yep. Special. Okay, we got everything here. We got all the trophies for all of these. Yep, okay. That's That's the first game.
So, what are my final thoughts on Wipeout the game? Well, it's not the most jank game in the series. We'll get to that later. But it is definitely the worst. It had the least to do in it in terms of actual courses, and the just horrendous way they decided to pad out the runtime with the tedious unlocking of character/skins. Also, I cannot overstate how bad of a decision it was to let the CPUs mess with your run. Challenge mode is the only reason to come back to this game because it is unique in the series. In total, this game sucked about 6 hours of my life away. Next up is Wipeout 2. No fancy name for this one, but that will return later on. Well, let's boot up the game and...
Oh my goodness!
How is this game way uglier than the first game? I think the clearest example of this is comparing Jill Wagner from 1 and 2. I mean, I wouldn't call the character models from Wipeout 1 pretty, but I think they were more cartoony, so they were less Kenny Valley maybe? Sorry, I had to address that because other than the character models, Wipeout 2 is a huge improvement over 1 and might be my favorite game in the series. On an unrelated note, it is also the shortest game to 100% with only 11 characters to unlock and 8 episodes that you unlock all in just the single player mode. There is multiplayer and practice mode to the game, but there's no trophies or time trials or anything like that to complete. Despite there not being that much to talk about in terms of mastery or this challenge that we're embarking on here, Wipeout 2 is a very pivotal game in this series, as it sets trends that stay throughout the rest of the series, but in some ways it's also the black sheep of the family. For example, it's the only game that uses a sideways Wiimote for its control scheme. Every other game uses the Wiimote and nunchuck, and honestly, I don't know why the rest of the series insists on using the nunchuck. You are never able to move in more than 4 directions in any game besides free-for-all rounds in Wipeout 1. Which could have easily gotten away with an 8-directional D-pad. So, whatever. Like most game series, the second game is where the identity of the series gets solidified. Wipeout 2 introduces several staples of the series, like rings on the course that take off time off your total when you collect them. And also, this revolutionary, genius idea that must have been so hard to implement, and I'm amazed they got it in the game. You run through the entire course uninterrupted with checkpoints in between each obstacle. Amazing. And thankfully, that will be the norm for the rest of the series, and also the start of what we'll be seeing as recycled assets. That gets more egregious later on, but these little checkpoint things stay exactly the same for the rest of the series. This is also the start of having themed episodes. Now, here in Wipeout 2, you have a playlist of summer and winter episodes. We'll get more varied and wild themes for episodes later on. Now that I have talked about everything besides completing the game, what is the process to unlock every character and episode? Let's deal with the latter first. You start with just episode 1 and 5 unlocked. 1 being the first summer episode and 5 being the first winter episode. You unlock the next episode in the summer and winter playlist by beating the previous summer or winter episode. For example, beating 1 unlocks 2, beating 5 unlocks 6. Much like in Wipeout 1, you unlock characters by beating an episode. And you can unlock every character by just beating every episode once.
Alright, we unlocked the last 2 characters. Yep, we've unlocked everything that we can do. Alright. Wow, number 2 is a lot shorter to 100%. But that's because 1 was mostly just... It was just really a grind to unlock. It wasn't actually because there was much more content to do. And number 2 is a much better game. I'm actually really excited to hop into 3 and create and crash and see where this series actually goes.
This is the only game in the series for this challenge that I enjoyed playing front to back. All the way through, I was having fun with this game. And that is most likely because this is the only game in the series where you can beat it in one healthy sitting. That being about an hour. It was just a huge step forward for this series and actually making an enjoyable game. But can Wipeout 3 avoid taking 2 steps back? The first and most obvious change between Wipeout 2 and 3 is the camera. Instead of a classic 2D platformer camera, we now have a third-person over-the-shoulder view. Which is kind of a bummer because I'm a sucker for a 2D platformer. Along with 12 episodes and 28 characters to unlock, Wipeout 3 introduces 21 pieces of equipment evenly divided amongst helmets, gloves, and boots. Now these pieces of equipment are not just to look goofy, they also affect your stats. But more on that in a second. Unlike the first 2 games where you unlock things by simply beating an episode, Wipeout 3 had the genius idea to implement XP and in-game currency that you earn at the end of each stage. Although thankfully, this was before the age of microtransactions, otherwise I would still be trying to finish this game. Each course also has 3 Smallsy trophies to collect. The time limit trophy, the black and blue, aka playing it on hard mode, and collecting the 10 rings scattered throughout the course. Whew, that sounds like a lot to do. But before we talk about the 100%ing process, I want to take a quick moment to talk about the stats. Now, there are 4 stats in the game: balance, swim, strength, and speed. Swim and speed let you move faster while swimming and running respectively. Strength reduces the knockback you take from obstacles, and balance keeps you steadier on balance beams. Now, the swim and balance stats are basically irrelevant. The only sections where you actually swim are in the wipeout zones when you get launched at the beginning of the wipeout zone. And even then, they're very short sections compared to speed, which affects you 90% of the time on every single course. It's pretty obvious which one you would rather have. Now, I did not mention this back in Wipeout 2 because it is way more egregious here, because they made a whole stat to help you on balance beams, which is a fine idea. The problem is, during balance beam sections, naturally, you can jump over obstacles and things, right? But while jumping, you don't have to balance. And jumping across the beams is way faster than walking across them. So in practice, you should never actually be balancing on balance beams, making the balancing stat worthless. Strength is a nice bonus to have because the game plan is to not get hit by any of the obstacles. But if you're anything like me, you mess up on occasion. So if wearing a bucket on my head will help me stay alive, so be it. Speed is king. You should always try to have as much speed as possible for the reason I mentioned earlier. Okay, with that explanation out of the way, let's talk about the lengthy process on how you 100% this game. At the end of each stage, so you've got 4 stages within an episode, after each stage, you get 1000 XP for beating it. And you get a 1000 XP bonus for completing an entire episode. In total, that means one episode is worth 5000 XP. When you level up, you get the privilege of having the ability to purchase new characters and gear. And leveling up straight up unlocks new episodes for you to play. You don't have to buy the episodes. Now, there are 16 levels to achieve in this game. The 16th level being called max level. I did not know this at first. I assumed that there was 15 levels to the game because there's no unlocks after level 14. For example, Mr. Doodles is a level 14 unlock and he's the highest character. My heart sunk when after achieving level 15, I was not maxed out.
15 isn't max level.
Thankfully, there was just one more quick level and we avoided that whole catastrophe.
Level max. Okay.
So as you might imagine, you also earn money by beating stages and episodes. After beating each stage, you gain 2k currency. I don't remember what it's called. I'm just calling it currency. And if you beat an entire episode, you get a 50k bonus for a total of 58k per episode. Now, throughout my run, I spend money on different contestants and gears, so I don't have like one big montage to put here. But after I had unlocked and mastered every level, we'll get into mastering levels in a second here, I had to do some grinding in order to get the remaining required cash. Mastering an episode consists of collecting all 3 of the Small Z trophies in a stage. So there's 12 Small Z trophies per episode, and after you collect all 12, you get a golden trophy that appears next to the episode on the select screen. None of the Small Z trophies were especially hard in the game, especially once I figured out that you had to play on hard difficulty to get one of them. And I got them all in just 1 or 2 passes. And that's basically how you 100% this game.
Oh, okay. We did. Okay.
I think I could spend a whole
So
afternoon in this shop. There's so much cool stuff.
we have... Wow, this menu is so slow. Okay. So we have... every character.
Take a look
We
at all the
have-
equipment choices. Ah, I got one of each of these in my house.
Every hat.
Take a look at all the equipment choices. Ah, I got one of each of these in my house.
Every glove.
Lots of equipment choices here.
Wow, it's like a shopping spree.
Every boot.
Lots of equipment choices here.
Wow, it's
And
like a shopping
we
spree.
have every level unlocked and a little golden trophy on every single one. Alright. That's 3. Honestly, it wasn't bad. Definitely better than 1. I think I enjoyed 2 more. But that might be just because, well, 3 has some problems like quick time events on the slowest rails ever. It definitely feels like it's the most jank out of the 3 so far. And it's also got kind of a BS unlock system where you have to play more of the game than there actually is to unlock everything. So that's 3. We're gonna dive into Crate and Crash here soon. Well, it's gonna be like in a day or 2 for me, but soon for you guys.
Wow. You can really tell I was done with this game by the time I unlocked everything, huh?
Wow. Wipeout 3 does introduce some really cool things to the series. The gear and stat system, even though half those stats are worthless, is fun. And the money system letting you unlock things that you care about instead of just unlocking a preset order is some nice flexibility. The courses themselves have some really fun themes to them, and we get more courses here than in any other game so far. The problems of the game are the cost to earnings ratio, requiring you to put in some serious overtime in order to make ends meet. The game is also, as you imagine, kinda jank.
His skills. Go, you! You got the 4th ring.
What? It's not the most jank game in the series. That title rightfully belongs to Create and Crash. Create and Crash, in a lot of ways, is just a Wipeout 3.5. It seems like the dev team tried to fix some of the problems with Wipeout 3. For example, they changed how the balancing system works, giving you this little gauge at the bottom of the screen when you jump on a balance beam, and if the needle reaches either end of the gauge, you fall off the beam. And jumping now does have a pretty serious penalty to this gauge. Well, that's cool in theory. They sort of were trying to fix the exploit I was talking about in Wipeout 3. As you saw in the opening montage, this also has led to some serious bugs on the balance beam. There's a lot of small changes like this all over the game that has led to a bunch of weird bugs. Some, and I repeat, some of the bugs I encountered I put into that opening montage. Beyond all the little changes that the dev team made to Wipeout 3, they also put in some actually pretty cool features. Create and Crash has the biggest roster of pre-made courses for any of the games. There is also Max Mode, where you compete against randomly generated courses with increasing difficulty. And if you beat the course within a time limit, you go on to the next course. The big selling point to the game is the course creator feature. And while I am a fan of any time a dev gives the player base a level creator, it is not something that is super relevant to this challenge. There are a few things we have to buy in the course creator in order to complete the game. That's right, in-game currency is back, but thankfully XP and levels are gone. So most of the unlocks in this game are acquired straight up by cold hard cash. Here's the list of things that we have to unlock. You have 11 episodes that you unlock the normal way, where you beat the episode before it and you get access to it. You have 28 contestants to unlock, 45 pieces of gear to unlock, although a lot of these costumes are recycled from Wipeout 3, and stats have been eliminated, so I don't know why, beyond that they're kind of goofy, I don't know why they're really here. You have, in the course creator, you have 11 course themes and 7 course layouts, and 18 obstacles. We have 3 trophies to unlock on every stage within an episode. You've got the black and blue trophy, which is complete the course on hard difficulty and under a time limit. You've got the ring trophy, where you have to collect 15 rings instead of the 10 from last game.
and you got the small Z trophy. Basically, there's a small plush hidden on the stage that you have to go and find. Some small Z trophies are more hidden than others though. In Create and Crash, episodes work a little bit differently from the other games. Stage 1 is still your classic qualifying obstacle course, but Stage 2 is now a survival round where you have to last as long as possible on an auto-scrolling or a bouncing stage. Stage 3 is just another obstacle course, and then Stage 4, of course, is the wipeout zone. At the end of each stage, you see the rankings of where you are in comparison to your competitors, but it only seems like a visual thing that they did to make it look more like the show, because no matter where you place, you move on to the next course anyways, so I don't know why that was included. At the end of each stage, you earn currency, with a big bonus if you beat the entire episode. While I don't have much to say about earning money in this game, I mean, I really only had to play 2 extra episodes to unlock the last couple things. The real problem this time around was earning the trophies, actually. And it was mostly on the stage 2s or the survival stages of episodes. For example, there was this one bounce stage in the island themed episode that required some really precise air movement. Another one was the spinning pizza level, which only has one obstacle that moves up and down in a set pattern, but the pizza gets spinning so fast that I could not react to where the little hand obstacle is, and I just had to memorize the pattern, which obviously took several attempts. The last stage that really gave me trouble was the gnome snowball, which was not a hard level, except for the camera, which is positioned behind you and in a way that your character is blocking the view of whatever lane you're in. And of course, the snowball gets spinning really fast, and I wasted 7 minutes on this, just over and over again, getting slapped by gnomes. Eventually, I just used some patented ice magic to move the camera so I could actually see the course, and guess what? I beat it in 1 try. So that was Create and Crash. Honestly, it's probably the best game in the series. It's definitely the least, well, besides 2, I think it has the least grind to unlock stuff. Yeah, very cool. The sad part about Create and Crash is that if this game was just Wipeout 3 with a course creator, it would probably be the best game in the series. But with all the bugs that were introduced in between games, it makes Create and Crash really frustrating to play. Maybe not as frustrating as Wipeout 1, but still. Well, now, with all 4 games mastered, I am probably the only person who has ever attained the Wipeout state. Unlike Aang, who gets cool special powers and a cast of ancestors to call upon in a time of need, all I got was this video, which I hope you enjoyed. I hope to see you next time. Have a blessed day.